beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of A Nanny's Life podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Amber Noel, in case you didn't know that. And we are having our second half of the pivot conversation. My friend Jess is back with me, and this time we're going to talk about pivoting out of the nanny industry, which was a really hot topic, like right in COVID season, I feel. But I don't know that anyone has really had a fleshed out conversation about it. So we're going to do that today. Jess, welcome back. Thank you for being here.
So happy to be here again.
So happy to have you. And just to remind y'all, these episodes were very much curated by Jess. They were pitched by her, and I'm excited to chat through pivoting out of the industry. So let me ask you first, Jess, what was it that made you want to talk about pivoting out of the nanny industry?
I wanted to talk about pivoting out of the nanny industry because I think it's really important for nannies to know that there are other avenues out there that they can take if they're not looking to stay in the industry. There are ways to expand yourself and your knowledge. And as I'm finding that out, I think it's really important to share.
Yeah, I do think that considering the weight of nanny life and all that it requires of us to really be locked in and doing well at what we do, I think it is a fair assessment that this is not a 40-year career for everyone. I'm getting kind of close to 40 and my back hurts. So I definitely think it's a relevant conversation. And I think it's important, like you said, because I'm always saying, like, I'm a nurturer by nature, but childcare is my choice. And so many people want us to feel like we don't have a choice. We have to do this. And once we get into this, we're kind of trapped here. So I'm excited to talk about this, although it makes me emotional to think about. Because nanny life gives me so much. I was saying on the last episode, it gives me more than it takes from me. And I always wonder if I could be as fulfilled in a different career. But I don't know. It is something that I'm gonna have to figure out and think through. So I've been a nanny for almost 14 years. It's about to be 14 years. That's insane. And I fell into this industry. I said I was gonna take a gap year from school and not go to grad school. And I took a job that took my heart and I fell in love with it. And I was like, this is totally, totally my thing. But I do feel like the nanny that I am today would probably be blown away by the nanny that I was 14 years ago, and not in a great way. Because I had no idea. I had no idea the depth of my responsibility and all that it would require of me. And I do think that early in my career, I was focused on the wrong things. I was focused on results. I was focused on money, and there's like so much more to it. You shared that you were excited to be in a household environment. You were excited to use your education, degree, and experience to work with kids one on one. Has that changed at all in the past few years? Your like outlook on nannying in general?
Yes, my outlook has changed a lot. In the last couple years post COVID, I have noticed a shift with just being out in public with kids, and the way I perceive the world has changed. I've had some experiences being out in public with children that have made me really uncomfortable.
Mm.
I don't see that aspect of my job if I stay a nanny going away because I'm always going to be out in public with kids. And so there are some things related to that that have just kind of exhausted me, which is interesting because it's not so much like family demand, working for parents. It's not so much the kids. It's kind of these other factors that I have noticed now have become more intrusive
Mm.
to enjoying being a nanny.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. I mean, for me, this recent job transition, the number one thing that I needed, I felt, was to be in a different neighborhood because in the neighborhood I was working, I did not feel like a person, and I felt like a lot of my caregivers were not treated like people. I don't feel like I was mistreated by my nanny family. Like they treated me like a person, but even taking the kids down to the playground, taking them to the tennis courts, seeing how other families interacted with their nannies, seeing how other families would have full conversations with the kids and never acknowledge me who's holding the kid, you know? So I could totally relate to that discomfort making you feel like why would I even do this? And I got really lucky because typically in Atlanta, the bulk of jobs that are decent paying and pretty reliable are in that area. And where I got a job, I'm like one of like 4 nannies in the whole neighborhood. So I feel you. That is totally valid. Totally valid.
I would say those experiences that I've had have made me question the longevity of
Mhm.
doing.
Mhm. And that's totally fair. I also think for a lot of people, the time commitment becomes challenging, and not just the amount of hours we work, but the way that our work is, right? We can't go on vacation and work from home for a few days and be flexible that way. We can't make the happy hour if our bosses don't come home on time. And sometimes we can't make it because we don't have the energy to put ourselves together. I mean, the way that I show up on this podcast is shameful, but it's what I got. I don't have the energy to beat my face or straighten my hair or do any of those things. And so I do think in some ways, nanny life, if it doesn't match up with your lifestyle, yeah, it gets tough over time. No, I totally can feel that.
Yeah, and to go along with what you just said as well, my hours are great, like the 8 to 4:30. But being gone so often now, and then on top of the commute, so that's an extra 10 hours really being away from home a week. Um, I just feel like at this age and stage in my life, being away this frequently from my personal life is becoming personally taxing on myself.
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain a good balance.
Yeah. And especially as nannies, and I know we have nanny moms out here. Y'all are the goats. I cannot imagine it. But the idea of giving birth to a person and then going to work as a nanny, for me, I don't know. So I think a lot of times when nannies start family planning or having children, that's the time they start thinking of transitioning. I know a former nanny who, first of all, shout out to her because she bodied her transition. She was working full time as a nanny. She got pregnant. She took a course, some sort of tech project management course. And now her child is in the same private schools as families I've worked with before. Like she just fully bossed up. And I think it is important to remember as a nanny, this is not your only option. And if this is not giving you life, it doesn't need to be your life. It's okay to transition. But I feel like there's so many feelings when you think about transitioning. Like I know you've thought about it. So like are there emotions that come up for you pretty regularly regarding getting out of the industry?
Yeah, because at the same time, I feel complacent,
Mm,
feel safe here. I feel like serving people and educating people in their homes on this one-on-one basis is something that brings me a lot of joy. I love the comfort that I get from just like being in someone's house every day and having this safe routine, and it's hard to imagine, and then the security of being paid, right, every week. That's coming, or however you guys manage bi-weekly, first and 15th. That's coming. So there's a lot of aspects that come up for me that make me feel a little uncomfortable in, am I making the right decision? But I also know that for myself personally, that when I've stayed complacent in situations, there's no growth
mm,
for me.
mhm. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I feel like every time I think about transitioning out of nanny life, I think, especially as a Black woman, because I think people assume that a Black woman being a nanny is a problem because of the history of the country. And there are instances, there definitely are, but we have to also consider anywhere a Black woman goes in this country, it's going to be an issue, right? There are always these difficult dynamics in workplaces. I have a lot of friends in corporate America, friends who do law, friends who, in the housing and real estate, and everywhere is a challenge because of that intersectionality. You're not only a woman, you are also a minority. And so for me, I feel like I know this industry. I know how to play my part. I know how to navigate, and I can command respect in a lot of ways. I don't know what that would look like somewhere else. And somewhere else, I would not get the emotional support that I feel like this job awards me. So it's interesting. It's interesting to think it all through because there are also aspects of the career that are like, all right, I've done this for 14 years. I would like to maybe opt out. So I definitely go back and forth a lot. So
And I
I
still
could
go
totally
back.
relate.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I still go back and forth about it for sure.
So thinking through my career, I feel like a lot of times when I want to make a decision one way or another, it's because of a significant challenge, like something really striking and really difficult happened to me and I would like wanted to run. Has that ever happened to you? Like where something, you go to work and this specific week is so tough, you're like, you know what, this is it.
Yeah. Yes. Gosh, I wish I just could sit here and talk about all these examples in detail.
Don't we all?
Yes, I've had that experience and more so in recent years. And I think it because largely because of the demographic that I'm around.
Mm.
Um, Again, not even so much directly for the people that I work for, but there have been some instances in the past where I'm just so done with this cycle of like and then I look at the kids that I'm with that I've been with for the last 4 years and I love them so much and I can tell it's not about them.
Mhm.
And when I have these thoughts of like it's not about them, it's about what this is doing to me, that's how I know too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I feel like the moments where you feel particularly invisible, the moments where you feel powerless. Like I've had moments where I was like, can anyone see me? Hello. The reason I specialize in 0 to 2 is because childcare feels very black and white there. Like we some people disagree on some things, but it's very basic. You feed them, you burp them, you sleep them, you play on the floor with them. Very simple. The older kids get, the more complicated childhood becomes, the more gray area there is. The easier it is to disagree with parenting styles, parenting approach, parenting decisions. And in the moments where I find myself feeling like I know best, that's when I feel like I should leave, you know? Cuz even if you feel like you know best, you're not the parent. And being in that constant power struggle of being like, "Hello, this would work so much better if you would do it this way." And then being like, "Hello, these are not your kids." Those are the moments where I'm like, "All right, maybe I need to find me something else to do." Yeah, it's I definitely do plan on sticking with babies for the remainder of my career. I don't know, it just gets muddy. It gets murky.
Yeah.
It gets very, very murky. So, when we're thinking about transferring skills and going into other industries, what aspects of nanny life do you feel like are so valuable elsewhere that people really underestimate?
Time management skills,
Number
definitely
1.
number
Number 1.
being able to I don't it's not multitasking in the way of like physically doing different things at once, but multitasking in your mind
Mhm.
of just like I mean that goes along with time management, but also being able to organize in your mind like this is happening now, but what's happening next and how that's going to affect what you're doing now. I don't really know like the right word for that, but
Fair. I mean, I don't either. I'm just a nanny.
just organization, communication.
Communication is a big one because in other industries, you don't have to consider a person's point of view as much. Things are black and white. but it is a positive quality to have, to be able to consider someone's perspective and still communicate your point, which we often have to do. So I feel like nannies could transition into HR pretty well. I feel like they could transition, like you said, into any like management roles because you're literally managing a household, which is in a lot of ways like running a business. I had a boss who we were doing something on the internet that was like, what's your nanny superhero name? And they were like, I don't know what the name would be, but your skill would be super flexibility because every day you show up to work and you have this idea of how your day is going to go. And depending on the night that they had, the morning that they had, the evening they have ahead, all of that could change. They could be like, "You don't even have a kitchen today. What do you mean you're making cookies? It's not happening." And so the ability to change your approach and still get to the destination is huge. I like you said, I don't know what to call that. I'm a self-starter. I think on my feet, something like that. But I do think that is huge.
There are so many skills and things that I do and have done um, that would be great anywhere. Flexibility, communication, organization, I think are like the top three.
Yeah. We also have the ability to work anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh. They were building, do you know what an ADU is? Yeah, so they were building an ADU while sleep training their babies.
Sounds about
So
right.
just being able to think about like sound machine placement,
Mhm.
fix,
Mhm.
block that sound.
Yeah, we're nothing if not problem solvers because all we get is problems. Yes, yes. And I think nannies are inherently solution oriented in general because, we're results driven at the end of the day. And our tiny clients are even less understanding than the adults because what do you mean? What do you mean I can't watch TV in this room because it's being torn apart? That like we have to find ways to appease these tiny humans and also hold our boundaries at the same time. I think that is very valuable.
Just being like highly observant.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Highly observant is good.
Yes,
Is really good. I do think I would struggle being at a computer for more than like 2, 3 hours.
there's no way. I'm still going to be utilizing my NCS skills
Mhm.
and my newborn care skills. I want to still utilize all my knowledge and the things that I have been doing over the years. And what I have found, what I have picked out of all the skills that I have learned, that I really want to streamline is creating schedules and routines for parents on a larger scale. Like, I am taking the time out this summer to take Summer Hartman's mentorship program to become a pediatric sleep consultant.
Okay.
And so I still want to stay in the realm of, newborn care and helping families, but I want to figure out a way to not have to like, give myself so much physically to family. So that's where I'm at in trying to create some sort of transition out of caregiving physically.
Yeah, I think that's dope. I think one of the more frustrating parts of nanny life is that we don't necessarily have like a hierarchy. So we don't have, and not in terms of like these people have the power and tell you what to do, but when we level up, we still are on the floor playing, as opposed to entering a management type role, a consultant type role. And I've seen some people, go into coaching and things like that, which, it depends on who your coach is, what you're looking for, and all that jazz. But I do wish we had a better infrastructure so that the seasoned nannies who have knowledge that they want to spread could spend more time doing that in an organization. I mean, we have INA and we also have USNA. I feel like, and I guess it comes down to money. I feel like anything that you have to pay to do is exclusive to an extent. And I also feel like there is some degree of like social climbing and bureaucracy that go along with that. But I love the idea of finding ways to help parents without doing the heavy lifting, as it were. I think that's brilliant. I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, I found that working as a nanny, the most satisfaction that I have gotten in helping families is helping them understand sleep hygiene and creating schedules and routines, and also just understanding things from their perspective in the way of development and reaching milestone goals. That has been the most like joy and satisfaction I have gotten doing this work for sure.
Yeah, that's dope. And I mean, we also have what's becoming the fairly traditional path of nanny to NCS to, I don't know what would be next after NCS, just advisor, consultant type vibes.
My friend Marquetti said like parent educator, but I don't know what really goes along with that. That's a lot of like putting yourself out there and hosting like groups and talks, and which
Yeah.
I think maybe 40-year-old Jess could be good at that, but someone in
No,
my
I feel like age is such a factor in this industry that we shy away from talking about because you don't want to seem ageist. But the way families respect me at 36 is so different from 20 something Amber. Oh my goodness. I don't think it's because I've achieved much or whatever. It's just, I don't know.
it's just the way we communicate. It's
Yeah.
just it's so I think personally, and I feel like in getting to know you a bit, that it has to do with the way we hold ourselves, our confidence levels, our communication skills. I think that all of that has just completely shifted since 20 year olds.
I agree. I agree. We have definitely grown up. So, thinking about nanny transitioning, let's address some of the things we addressed in the last episode because we talked about who would transition into the nanny industry. Obviously, who's transitioning out would be nannies. Why would we be transitioning? We talked about some of our challenging experiences and some of the things that frustrate us and make us feel like maybe this isn't it for us anymore. But then there's also the how, right? The Cinderella stories are the nannies who find their way into a highly coveted position within agency that's international and and they can make comparable money but have a little bit more life to live themselves. But I don't know that that's everybody's story. I don't know that everyone leaving nanny life is making a lot more money necessarily. Like benefits, I feel like would be a really big reason to enter a different industry, like the healthcare, the 401k, all those things that nannies don't necessarily have. But I wonder how feasible that is to get from working day to day as a nanny to then overnight, having a job that pays as much or more. You have more time to yourself and you have benefits. That seems like a big undertaking. So I wonder how, and I know this is a big question, but like, how would one even think about that? Because I feel like for a lot of us, even thinking about finding the right industry to transition into, finding the right connection to get there, to get the interview, nailing the interview, it just all seems so big.
And it feels really big for me right now. To talk about the how in my perspective, I would say, like I told you in the last episode, I'm in a 5-year contract right now. So I know that I have a full 13 months right now left doing full time work, making that full time salary. I have prepared my mind the how this is going to go for now, right? So I plan to at the end of the summer to start my mentorship program and to be bulking up my professional development and to be refreshing my skills and my knowledge, to prepare myself to be able to help families in the way that I would like to. With that, like I'm also working with a graphic designer. I'm working on branding. I'm working on creating a logo and a business name for myself. I'm also going to do a professional photo shoot this summer, get some branding photo shoot work done. This is all very new for me to talk about. So if I sound a little delayed, it's because I'm still in the how process, figuring it out. I have really wonderful people in my life and support, and really wonderful mentors. Shout out to Princess Sam's, my girl. Love her. She's the PP doula. She's just been a very prominent, consistent figure for me the last few years in helping me figure out this how. And so once I am certified and learn how to work from home and the whole like program and everything that goes along with that, I do also plan on working with P on some projects that she has going. She has a concierge service that she would like to, she already has it going, but she would like to expand it. And she's looking for people in different cities because she has the nanny in the city agent.
Right.
Yeah. And so since I'm in a different city and she has other people in other cities, that she would like to start like bringing us in and creating a team. And so to go along with that, how I would say like networking and putting yourself out there and, even I I didn't know she had this going on. I just talked to her about that, like I'm looking to transition out of nannying, after my contract ends. And she brought this to my attention. And so I think a great how tip perspective would be to reach out to your community because you don't know what your community may need from you. I just think doing different things and will get you different results. I don't have an answer for like what my income's going to look like. I have no idea what the business aspect is going to look like, but I just know in this moment of my life that I need to start doing different things. And I think the beginning pillars of that is, like I said, refreshing what I already know about newborns and NCS work and taking another certification course and putting myself out there with my network and creating branding and creating an image and creating the next steps really is where I'm at right now.
First of all, I think that nannies are inherently some of the most creative human beings to exist. And so a lot of times when we talk about transitioning out of the industry, people are talking about transitioning into corporate America for whatever reason. And that's, fair if you want to do that, if you feel like that is going to work out well for you. I told you about my friend who did. She's living her absolute best life, but it's not for everyone. And I think it's very important to consider transitioning doesn't have to look one way. Like you said, you can craft your transition, you can create your second act, you can figure out what works for you. And the beautiful thing about nanny life is it's always here. People are always having children. If you want to come back for a summer, if you want to do, 1 year to stack paper, all of that can happen. Someone recently reached out to me and was saying they felt like some of the nanny content creators, influencers are unkind when they tell them they're leaving the industry. And I hate that. I'm told that sometimes when people confide in others that they're leaving the industry, they are seen as a failure and like they're giving up and they're just quitting and they're running away. And I just want to say 2 years as a nanny is enough. 1 year as a nanny is enough. You contributed to the industry, you contributed to a family, you supported a family, you contributed to a child's life, to their childhood, to their worldview. There's no such thing as failing at being a nanny. So let's nip that in the bud right there, especially those of us who have double digits and stuff. Baby, when you get tired, go sit down. I just want to say this is not easy work. It is grueling and it can consume you. So if you're feeling guilty about thinking about transitioning, don't. Just because I'm still here, because this is all I see right now, does not mean I think differently of you. No one should. Nanny life is hard, and not everybody has to do it for 30, 40 years. I just wanted to put that out there.
Definitely. No, that's really supportive to hear that. And in a way, I don't really feel like I'm leaving.
Right.
I I definitely it's funny too because when this contract that I'm in ends, there's a mom that I'm friends with who she just got pregnant and she said that she wants somebody like 3 times a week for like 5 hours a day. And I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
need that while I'm in this limbo. So it's still gonna be this transitional period of, but it's gonna of still kind of being a nanny, But thankfully, there's some breathing room now. I'm getting some time back in my life to really figure out, like, not even figure out, like, to really set myself up for the next chapter.
Yeah. And like I said, maybe a couple weeks ago, doing full time nanny life and supporting nannies is hard. It's is a really big undertaking. And those of us who do it are exhausted, are worn out. A lot of times you'll see I see this with content creator nannies a lot, and I do this too. So this is no shade. But you'll see us go, go, go for like 3, 4 months, cranking out content, showing up, having conversations, and then all of a sudden we disappear for like 3 to 6 months because it's a lot. It really, really is so much. And so how beautiful is it that there are some of us who, when we transition out of the work, we still want to give back to the community? I think that's dope. You're taking a load off of those of us who would like to get back in that bed. And I think it's just going to bolster the community like overall. So I think that is really really dope. I feel like when I think about transitioning, the only thing I think about doing is writing about nanny life. It's because I have a friend who worked a very difficult job for years and was literally running on adrenaline the entire time. And now, since that job has ended, is having some things surface physically and mentally and emotionally that have been dormant for years. And I feel like a lot of us, even in better circumstances, function that way to an extent. And so it really takes stepping away and decompressing and really looking at what all just happened to fully understand and to deal and to heal and to move forward. So I always think about writing as my next act, but we will see. I got a few years to think about it, I think, maybe.
Well, what an interesting example you just brought up, too, because, I've been in a very deep baby bubble for the last few years. I started with this family when their first baby was 3 months old. And then they had their second child within 17 months. And just recently, now they're 2.5 and 4. But I say that to say, I'm finally coming out of this, like, I don't know, rock that I was under. They're a little bit more independent right now. And I have been finding over the last month, really, that my life is opening up again a bit.
Isn't that crazy?
And they're not even my kids.
Right. No, it's wild. It is wild. We get invested, we get involved mentally and emotionally in addition to physically. And like, we do what we got to do to get through. And then when it's all over, it's like,
What happened?
woo, literally, absolutely. No, truly, that, yeah, can relate. I feel like I got so lucky when I transitioned from 3 kids to 1 baby because I was able to do both at the same time. I was able to keep working, but also decompress from a completely different pace. And I visited my old nanny kids last weekend. And when I worked there as a nanny, they could all talk to me at the same time. And somehow I could decipher and I could, figure out who to answer first and who I could say 1 second and I could manage that like nobody's business when I was their nanny. Now I was like, whoa, one at a time, one at a time. Like that muscle is gone. Even the idea of taking a break and like taking a year and doing something that is not the traditional 9 to 5 full time in the trenches work, I feel like can be healing for caregivers in general. Whether you find an agency to work with, whether you start an agency, whether you start doing newborn care in order to escape the peopling, because the overnight newborn care specialists, they let themselves in the house, they go straight to the nursery, they let themselves out. Sometimes they don't even interact with parents but once or twice a week. So no, felt, totally felt. Is there anything from nanny life that you feel like has been life changing for you in a way that you want to carry it into any other work that you do?
Honestly, learning all the development stages of like newborn through toddlerhood has just been the most rewarding factor of all of this. Being there that up close and seeing it happen, being there with the parents and celebrating those firsts. I mean, it's really hard to verbalize.
Hmm.
It's just such a powerful feeling to be part of that. It
Yeah.
really is. And to have that skill set and to know now what to actually like know what happens and to carry that knowledge with you and to help other people is just amazing to me, truly.
Yeah. Even sharing, I feel like sharing casually with like friends or like former classmates. Cause like I said, I'm old. So all my friends have children.
Me too.
There's so many children. Everybody got children, but most of them don't have childcare experience at all. So, you see the posts that are like, nobody talks about this. And I'm like, baby, I've been talking about it for 6 years. You just weren't in this bubble. Now you're in the bubble. Welcome. Here is some knowledge that I can share, which is kind of dope because I don't have any kids, but I'm like, you need to put that baby down.
So I'm 34.
Almost as old as me. Okay.
I know I'm very lucky genetically. I look pretty young.
Yeah.
Doesn't work out for me as a nanny very well to this day, but
Fair.
that's another conversation. But I was going to say that, like, I had my college roommate last week DM me, and she was like, "Oh my God, you're an NCS? This is happening with my 8 week old, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." And she was like, "Oh my God, I never thought to think of it that way." It's like,
Mm-hmm.
love
Mm-hmm.
it. I love it.
That is community care right there. I love to hear it. I feel like for me, the one thing that nanny life has taught me, and it was a hard lesson to learn, but I'm glad I got it and I do carry it through life, is that people are the product of their upbringing. And so when I look at a person who is behaving in a way that I can't understand, and maybe struggle to deal with myself, I try to consider where they're coming from. And this is not for like random people on the street. This is for like making adult friendships or like, nanny to nanny friendships. And also, of course, the families that I work for. It's like, I don't understand why this motivates you so much until I hear your story. So I'm a lot better at asking important questions and getting to that point before making a judgment about a person. It's why I'm obsessed with memoirs and listening to people tell their stories, because it's one thing to see an occurrence, right? Like you have the example of, we all saw Solange in that elevator with Jay-Z and we were like, "Girl, what happened? We need to know." Now, were we told what happened? No, we were not. But there are several books, one of which being Tina Knowles' Matriarch, that kind of tell you more about her upbringing, her personality, Jay's personality, their dynamic as brother and sister. And so then you're like, okay, I have the full picture. That's not as jarring for me anymore. And I feel like we have to do that a lot of times with parents, because sometimes the things that are important to them don't make sense to us as important things. But if we better understand their upbringing, what they went through, how they felt as a child, what they were accustomed to, then we're like, oh, it makes sense that you feel that way. You know what I mean? And it has been a very valuable tool for me as a nanny because, a lot of times we feel like we know best. So considering other people has been a big lesson learned for me in this industry that I try to take with me everywhere. Do you have any advice for nannies who are considering a career transition or even just thinking about not being a nanny anymore?
If I had to narrow down based on my experience, finding nanny community was the biggest help in this whole journey, in this whole process. I mean, hearing what other nannies go through and then realizing like you're not alone in that, even though you are alone every day.
Mm, sorry, that was a podcast moment right there. That was good.
I'm getting overwhelmed emotionally. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
it's okay.
I'm thinking about Marquetti and I'm thinking about Princess and I'm just thinking about the things that I've gone through as a nanny and like if I didn't like have them as soundboards and inspiration to move forward in this career path, then I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now about any of this.
No, that's huge. That's huge. And that's the through line here on this show. Nannies
Yeah.
need nanny friends. We need each other. We need the community. And it can be hard to make moves in this industry or into or out of this industry because we have this like secret society code, right? You don't talk bad about the people you work for. You don't talk about wanting to leave your job. You don't talk about being unsatisfied or unfulfilled or needing new inspiration or new background. The only people you can talk to about it who will actually understand where you're coming from are other caregivers. So I think that's excellent advice. I think that's beautiful. It's inspiring. It's how a lot of people have gotten out of the industry.
Marquetti even like sponsored my NCS training,
Mm,
because she believed in me so much. Nannies
mhm.
need nanny friends for real. The one nanny friend I actually physically have here in San Diego that I met in a My Gym class, when I first met her a couple years ago, she didn't even know what guaranteed hours were. Little things like that, because she was just on the younger side, and I was at a point where I didn't know those things either when I was younger, and
Right.
learned
Of
things
course.
from my mentors. So to pass down that knowledge, and now she texted me a couple months ago, like, "Oh, they renewed my contract and they gave me the guaranteed hours you suggested," and it's like I would have never known to tell you that if it wasn't for having other nanny friends.
Each one teach one.
Hmm.
I love that. That's such good advice. I'm not even going to add to it because it really is what it comes down to, y'all. You're not going to get honest, unfiltered feedback getting on the internet. I mean, maybe in a DM. Like if you DM me, I will tell you the real. But making those one-to-one connections, it could be virtual. But making those one-to-one connections, oh, you learn so much that you didn't know. Okay? There's so much. And there's so much value in talking to someone who has even considered doing what you're considering doing, let alone someone who has done it, who has made their way. So I love that. I love that so much. So, as you all begin to think about your next act, your next chapter, just consider that number one, you are not a failure. You have done an excellent job, and we are very grateful to you for being part of our community. Number two, you can do anything that you want to do. It may be hard, the money may get tight, but it's never too late to change gears. And you absolutely have to do that if it's the best thing for you as a human being. You cannot consider the people that you work for more than you consider yourself and your life and the long term, because I hate to break it to you, but that family is going to put their family first. And so
Yes,
you now have to put your family first. And if that means changing gears and doing something a little bit different, that is absolutely what you should do.
thank you.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. And I'm so glad that you brought up this topic because we have been talking forever. Like it's so meaty. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, this has been dope. This has been really powerful, truly.
It's been
Thank you.
amazing. I just want to point out, Jess sent me a DM, y'all, and said, listen, we need to talk about this. Do you want to talk about this? And I say, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. Shoot me an email. Not only did she email me, she crafted this conversation. She sent me question ideas in addition to the topics because she really wanted to have this conversation. And I love these sort of organic opportunities to not only connect with you directly, Jess, because this has really blessed me, but also for you to connect with the listeners and for the greater community to hear from more caregivers. Because a nanny's life, and forgive me, y'all. I'm preaching a little bit here, but this is on my spirit. A nanny's life is not Amber's nanny life. A nanny's life is each and every one of us. And I want to tell as many stories. I want to give as many perspectives as physically possible because the world needs to hear from us, not just us hearing from each other. Okay?
Yeah,
We are out here. We are absolutely out here. So if you ever want to do an episode, if you have an idea, reach out to me. I do my best to be responsive. Sometimes it takes me a while. I do still work full time. So consider that. But this has been so great. Thank you so much, Jess. You're such a gem. I'm so
Thank
excited for you.
you so much. It's been wonderful.
You are
I'm so
so welcome.
choked up with, I feel like I can't put a sentence together.
That's okay. You've put together plenty of sentences. We have just recorded 2 very solid episodes. So thank you so much. So, so, so much. And thank you guys who are listening so much for joining me for another episode of a Nanny's Life podcast. This has been a blast. I am so excited to hear your feedback on this episode. I hope you felt seen and heard and acknowledged. I hope you have a really beautiful week ahead. I hope you take good care of yourself, friend, as well as, if not better, than all those other people you take care of, okay? And like I try to tell you, I love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. All right? See y'all soon. Bye.